Okay, so this is a 9-player Vengir Cagematch. And this is really the ideal situation for Vengir. Everybody's all close together, and my swordsman can be effective right away. So the first thing I do is make a second swordsman and put them in the both in the same direction. And you can see, we pause real quick. I struck his city with one swordsman. I didn't hit anybody with the second swordsman, so he'd still be full health. And then with that weakened unit in his capital, I was able to take it with a full health swordsman. That's the typical strategy for Vengir. You want to send up 2 units, maybe a warrior and a swordsman, or 2 swordsmen, and just rush the first city that you can find. So that pretty much worked perfectly. He's not going to be able to take that unit away.
All of your city are mine.
So going great for Vengir. Bit of a risky play here. I grabbed climbing because you can see all these units coming from the middle of the map, and I didn't want to run right into them and start losing health on my swordsman, so I grabbed climbing and start going down in this direction. I can also get better vision. And he builds a wall around the city because he senses danger. He senses danger. His spider senses are tingling, but it's kind of late. He's getting ganged up on. That happens in a cage match sometimes. And this way, I've got first place Imperius, who also builds a walled city with the sword or shield guy, which is a big problem. So this guy got beaten up by everybody. I'm able to take his city, and they can't get me off, so it's working out great for me so far. Everything's going great. Okay, so I've got the whole side of the map here with my Vengir, and now it's time to move up. So in the mid-game, Vengir might struggle a little bit because their economy is typically very bad. Now check it out. Yadek has a giant here, and this guy's got shields and a wall, and he's looks like he's about to make a giant, so not looking great for me in the mid-game. So here we go. What do I do here? More swordsmen, always a good idea. He's starting to move up on me. They're all starting to catch on to the fact that Vengir are taking over the map, so they're making giants and shields, but they're kind of fighting back in the rear area. They haven't unified against me, so I still have a chance. Oh, and Imperius offers peace here, which is very advantageous to me because he was about to be a serious problem. Look at all that stuff is going on here. With the wall is a big problem for swordsmen. So I started making catapults, looking at all these walls and shields and giants. So I've got a wall of swordsmen here. They're making like a good formation with catapults in the rear, so you can't really beat that. I got an explorer here, and this really disappointed me. He definitely got a demotion for that one.
Father, I failed you.
Explored nothing useful. So I started shooting him up with catapults, making a good solid formation in the front. Very intimidating to see that walking into your territory, I hope. So here I go, shooting him up with catapults, moving up as swordsman. I'm just blasting them. So the catapults, it was a bit of a risky play to go all the way up that tree, but turned out to be just what I needed. It's going great. So he's trying to move up with this giant, and I just shoot him up with catapults. I don't think he expected me to have that many back here. He probably can't see into my backfield. And now that I've taken over some cities, my economy's starting to do better, so I'm making some giants, and I just take over Illyrian city. I'm starting to wonder how many of these people are allies. Well, foolish move to build a cloak right there. I just take it right over with my swordsman, and shield guys can't do much against that. So just climbing up, shooting them up. Everything's going great. Obviously, I take his polytars first just to add insult to injury. Gotta do that.
Your polytars are my meat.
So are they friends? I'm not really sure. Probably yes. So he's making a second giant. I'm starting to feel suspicious about Imperius over here. Polytars, they have a lot of attack, but not very much defense. So they're pretty weak against swordsmen, actually. It's always worth it to hit a polytar as fast as you can, even with a warrior. So I'm starting to move everything forward. He's got a lot of polytars here. Look at how many units he's moving towards me. I definitely saw that broken peace treaty coming. But luckily for me, I took a moment to move all my catapults back in case he has knights or something, or I know his rider might be able to reach my catapults where they were. So just leveling everything up, beating everybody up. My swordsmen are getting kind of broken up here, but I do have catapults and giants to support them. So here comes another giant to protect this area. Look at all those units. He made archers, which is actually a great counter to Vengir, but too little too late. And here comes a knight. Actually a pretty good move. He broke up my catapults there. But I got more catapults. I got catapults for days, so you're gonna need more than just one night to take out my backfield. Just beating them up, moving forward. Like I was saying, archers are a great counter to Vengir, but too late. You should have had that in the beginning. And he actually does take my city here. I'm pretty nervous about that, but I'm able to shoot him up a little bit. And with smitheries, and I think I might have used, yep, here comes the Gate of Power. I'm able to push him off by making another giant. Fun fact, when you put a Gate of Power down as Vengir, all of your units start wearing skull masks, which is pretty cool. So that much more intimidating to everybody. I'm just kind of wiping up his units here so I can move through with my support units. Gotta fight backwards to fight forwards a little bit sometimes. And he is kind of beating up my backfield, but I'm moving giants forward, so I'm not terribly worried about it. And his swordsman, I mean, his knight would pose a problem if he had more than one, but since I'm all up in his business, he can only spawn them in one city. If you're in that situation like Imperius, it's kind of worth it to spawn a knight but not use it right away. Put it in the backfield so you can move up with like 2 or 3 knights. That way you can hit a swordsman and then kill him, hit the next one, and then you can get a few swordsmen in a row that way. But moving one knight at a time against a row of swordsmen, you're not going to have an easy time unless all of them are hurt or something. Lyrion desperately trying to beat me up, but just got too many swordsmen. So here I go. Just slowly taking over this city. See how many units it took me to take that city, though? If you have to fight against Vengir, building a wall was a great idea. I was only able to do that because it's like the end of the game and I have so many units to spare. But mid-game, that's real. Mid and early game, it's real troublesome for Vengir. So I don't know why, but he's kind of charging forward with shields. I'm just gonna beat him up with my swordsman. Basically the end of the road for Imperius. But he's about to extend a peace treaty. And I'm feeling silly, so I'll accept that peace treaty. What I didn't think about was that all the units that are in his capital were destroyed when I accepted the peace treaty. Or no, I accepted it and then rejected it, and it destroyed all of my units. So then I had to move up with more units. Luckily, I controlled all the map at one city, so it wasn't a problem to refill. He does try to peace treaty me again, but I'm not falling for it this time.
Vengir forever.
Alright, in this match we do a bug versus bug match, because what's spookier than a world full of bugs? Only insects. So we start in a very similar sort of area. I'm the top one, my opponent's the bottom one. Shout out to Yappy Yappy for playing with me over and over again. So here we go. We do kind of the same thing. We both supercharge a warrior and start exploring. I make 2, he only goes for 1. I go for the hunting tech. I'm starting to level my stuff up as I explore. Going great, going workshop. I feel like I don't really need to do the explorer because I don't have any water tech anyway. And we're on continents. So he goes right for archers to explore the sea really quickly, and he heads that way and immediately finds an island, so that's pretty good for him. I go for the Reiki right away. I'm trying to dominate the seas. Get some treasure here, and he ends up pretty much having dominance over the island, kind of like the first fish to rise from the sea. Rulers of the land, so whole unclaimed island for him over there, which ends up being, as you'll see. So beating him up, making some bridges. Starting to put my own archer units into the sea and land, but he's starting to shoot me up. At this point, I can't really see what he's doing very well. He can see what I'm doing, I think. So here we go. Moving a bunch of units into the sea. My plan's really just to have so many units in the sea that he can't do anything about it. And I'm hoping to find some kind of land in the corner here. His strategy seems to be overwhelming me with archer units. And you can see he's got some sea units coming up too. He's just kind of picking me off. Making some algae. Good use of archer units and water units for the 1-2 punch combo. And here's where I started running into trouble. It turns out nothing was really in the ocean over here, and he starts making a bunch of land units to cross these algae bridges. He's got so many of these archers. In a way, the archers, even though they don't do a lot of damage, they're good distractors because they do block you from moving past them, and they poison you, so you've got lower defense, and they're cheap, so you can make a bunch of them. So here I go. I take the corner of this island here. At this point, I can't see past the city at all, so I'm just hoping that... I thought this was an island, but it turns out, after the fact, I realized it's an entire continent. There he goes, making more land bridges. I start making chitons. Like, I don't know, he's running guys over these narrow bridges. Maybe I can make shield bugs and hold it a little bit longer. Move my shaman back a little bit. Like, hey, let me get out of there. I'm about to get beat up if I don't move that guy. Then here comes a super unit. He's got one too. So, working at about the same pace here. He just has 2 continents right away, so... I guess moral of the story is on continents, you want to explore in all directions and make sure nobody gets like an additional neutral continent uncontested, because even if you play about the same way, they'll just have an advantage over you. So here he's taking the city. I mean, it's so far away from anything of mine, I can't really defend it, and he turns out to have a whole continent attached to it, so a lot of trouble for me in that regard. Trying to hold it, taking it back, I don't know, it's kind of a lost cause, I already realized that. Trying to do some crazy giant plays, I don't know, I'll just block the area with my butt. I'm just trying to make something happen while he's rushing me with land units. Turns out to be a mistake, he just wipes me out. Yep, so pretty much big problems for me here. I expected it to be an all-water match, so I made a bunch of water units, and he ends up taking this extra continent and making a bunch of land units and rushing me with algae bridges, so pretty good play on his part, but I feel like I could have done a little better. Maybe if I had switched into Dumux to defend this area, I could have moved into this continent and surprised him. There he goes, taking his land back. Couldn't really support or defend that area. And he's starting to overwhelm me here, so we'll skip a couple of turns ahead. And there he goes. There you have it. Bug v. Bug. Only one can win. I'll get you next time, Yappy Yappy.
I'll get you next time.
Alright, I'm going to record over top of this because I'm playing it in fast forward. I don't know if you recall, but in episode 7, there was an unfinished match. So here we go. I did deliver. Here's the end of it. So on turn 1, he actually did shoot me up a lot. It kind of made me nervous. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull it off. So pretty much here I come. I've got a ton of bombers and I've got giants on the land. I'm really starting to overwhelm him here, but he does have bombers in his rear there. And I think he makes another one later on that kind of ends up being problematic. So I pretty much at this point do a force of numbers here. So I build up my ships and launch them all forward, kind of sacrifice a couple just for the sake of blowing up his ships, because I have more than him, so I can take some damage. Here you go. I start making giants on land. I'm taking over the guy that resigns territory. Taking this city back that he got from me at the end. I'm not gonna lie, my PC can barely run this the way I recorded this and fast forward it. I'm seeing a real choppy version of whatever you're looking at. He actually managed to hold me off of that city of his on his main continent for quite a while. I think it took me like 3 or 4 turns, just kept shooting me off, or making a giant, or just basically delaying. I actually used bridges here. I started running close to the bridges, and it turned out to be kind of useful for taking over the land. I mean, it's hard to deal with like multiple close coming at you turn after turn. Yeah, he's still going for it. This opponent never gives up, and I applaud him for that. But I mean, at this point, especially the way bombers work in this beta, This is before the update, so bombers shot back and everything too. They're even more formidable. So once someone has a ton of bombers on you, there's not much you can do. Anything that you do, they're going to blow you up. Especially with all these rivers and everything, you can't even spread your ships out to avoid getting hit. It's sort of like that movie 300, like a narrow pass, except I have the bigger army and the narrow pass.
Lay down your weapons!
So he was definitely not going to have a fun time. But he still goes and goes. So I start running shields into his territory and just taking his cities over and over again. Oh, and then, after all this wait, like a week of playing, I come back and it just says, "You won!" I don't even get to see the last turn, so I have to switch to a replay here, watch the last turn. But hey, I won that match, and at the time I was very excited because that was a difficult round. I pretty much won with just good diplomacy and alliances. And that's it. I did come back as maybe promised and gave you some extra content.
Hope you enjoyed.
Hey, if you made it this far, that makes you one of like 10% of people that will ever watch this. So thanks for your time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed. See you next week.